This is Mason Weaver, and welcome to Leave the Plantation the Truth, right between the lines. We're glad to be here on UrbanSmartNetwork.com. You meet me here every Tuesday, same time, same place. Tonight, I want to introduce myself to you. Some of you may not know me. Some of you may know me and don't like the fact that you know me. But I want to just talk about who I am and how I got here. Before anybody stands before you, before anybody comes before you to give you advice or wisdom or leadership, you need to know their background. You need to know who they are, how they got to where they are to be able to stand before you to lead or direct or influence you. So let me tell you who I am. You know, I was a little country boy in Missouri. We moved out of St. Louis when I was 9, 10 years old. Stayed in the country, all white school district. Had fun. Most folks entertained themselves. Had racial problems because we're all human. But when I graduated high school, I got ready to graduate high school, the football coach told me that he was not going to start me that last year because he did not want me to take a scholarship from the white players. The guidance counselor told me that even though I was eligible to graduate as a junior, he would not let me do that because I would only take a seat in college from the more deserving white kids. So I joined the Navy instead and quit high school. So now I'm black, high school dropout, a little frustrated. I go into the Navy, went to Vietnam, did not get a scratch on me. Came back to San Diego, California. This is during the late 60s and early 70s, and all that stuff was going on there, militancy, the marches, demonstrations, and I participated because I saw things that the civil things, folks. I was fighting for civil rights. I wasn't fighting for white folks to like me. I wasn't fighting for white people to let me do this or let me do that. I was fighting for the legal rights, the laws. And once I got that, I started to work. But while in the Navy, a racist white boy dropped 2,800 pounds of steel on me trying to kill me because of the color of my skin. Now, he was a white racist, and honestly, I was a black racist. Had my black power salute, had my dashiki, my little hat on my afro, but I was just a competitor. I did not know that man hated me until I looked him in the eye. So now I'm black, I'm poor, high school dropout, and now I'm disabled. I had no skills. I was a welder, pipe fitter, sheet metal worker with a broken back and broken pelvis. I couldn't do that anymore. So now I'm unemployable. I'm permanently disabled, high school dropout, poor, and angry. I hated all white people because there's one white person. And I went to the Bay Area, stayed with my uncle. Took a college class in sociology from a guy named Melvin Newton. He was the older brother of a guy named Huey P. Newton, co-founder of the Black Panther Party. And I ran with them for a while. Then I went to Berkeley and helped them start the Black Student Union. And I took Black history. I still speak Swahili. Unasemi Kiswahili Bwana. And I ran with dudes who hated America. They hated everybody white. I broke up with a girl because she had a nerve to have a white dog. I hated everything about America, even though I knew it was all on me. That hatred, that racial tension, that hatred will blind you. I was paralyzed, self-paralysis, because I hated, how can I go and try to make money in America and hated everybody white? It was foolish. So what happened to me, I began to think. You can't be a slave and think. You can only be a slave if you're emotional. If you're watching TV now, everything on the news, everything on social media, everything in the movies, everything on commercials are telling you that you're a victim. Everything happening to us, somebody got to protest for us as if we're children. We cannot think for ourselves. We cannot act for ourselves. I began to think, wait a minute, I'm at Berkeley. I didn't get a scholarship. I'm at Berkeley. So how did I get to Berkeley? If I'm stupid, if I'm dumb, white folks are powerful, how did I do that? Everybody at Berkeley was there because he earned the right to be at Berkeley, but we're still talking about how the white man got us down. I began to think, gee, Jack Johnson was marrying white women in Mississippi, Alabama, and knocking out white men in prize fights to become the first black heavyweight champion of the world. Charlie Pride, singing in honky-tonk bars in Louisiana and Mississippi, became the country western singer of the decade. I saw examples of black people achieving goals in spite of white people not liking it. I mean, look around. They didn't want us playing in the NBA, but we dominate. They didn't want us playing in the NFL, but we dominate. They didn't want us in baseball. They have our own league. We dominate. Track and field. Everything black men think they can do, we dominate if we believe it ourselves. So as a young man at Berkeley, I'm thinking, what would happen if I thought that I could have a wife for 35 years instead of a girlfriend for 35 days? What if I thought I can raise my kids my way with my culture? What if I thought I could own a business? I had a bad back. I couldn't work. What if I believed myself? Sure, folks were against me. Folks didn't want me to be there. Folks did not want me to succeed because folks did not want me to compete. But if I thought it, if you thought it, you can do it. This is Mason Weaver. As soon as this program is over, rush to the website, leavetheplantation.org, and get your copy of Raunchy Secrets Only Wives Should Know. It will give you information, knowledge on how to communicate to your man your needs and your frustrations. And it opens up a conversation, and the conversation leads to love, and love leads to a family, and family leads to freedom. Get the copy today at leavetheplantation.org. So when I graduated Berkeley was my first 5-year plan. And I went off and started my second 5-year plan to retire and not work again. And I started studying and looking at, anticipating. I had to study slavery, folks, because everyone at Berkeley kept telling me I was a slave. Everyone, Black History Month. Why not Black Future Month? I don't understand it. See, slavery is a choice in America today. It's also a choice in our history. There was no invasion of Africa. There was no army that invaded Africa and conquered the African army and brought them in captivity. These were merchant marines. These were sailors on a ship that stopped in to pick up a couple of slaves with the other cargo they had. They walked in the villages and took what they wanted because we were too weak. We were too weak. The men were too weak to resist these merchant marines, untrained military people. We did not have the stamina or the training or the exercise or the inclination to defend our own community. We were captured and brought into slavery because we had grown weak. The same year that Christopher Columbus sailed to America, an African king came out of Africa with 60,000 prisoners, slaves, camels full of gold. He had a 30-pound gold nugget. So why that a few years later did the Spaniards rather go across the ocean to South America looking for gold than 500 miles to where he lived getting his gold? Because that dude had 250,000 Black warriors preparing to defend his gold. But those little tribal chiefs out there in the woods, they had no army, they had no discipline, they had no control, and they were captured. If you do not have control over your life and your home, you will lose both. Black men are sitting around blaming white men for their inability to learn and earn. Black men are sitting around thinking their job is to breed more Black babies for a master. Black men are running around taking advantage of Black women, destroying the Black family, and we owe our women an apology. The reason we are not prospering and thriving is because of us. Because there's no other man strong enough to do that but us. There is no other man strong enough to keep us down but us. There is no other man with the capabilities to deny us what we want. They don't like rap music, but we like it and we dominate it. They don't like us selling drugs and pimping women. We still dominate it. We dominate everything we think we can do. So, folks, either keep your behind on the plantation, serve your master, or get your behind up and leave the plantation. And that's why I wrote the book. It's okay to leave the plantation. Now, folks, if you're going to leave the plantation, you got to leave everything master has there. He has the bowl. You get your food from the bowl. If you leave, you may starve. He has the home. They call them ghettos today. If you leave, you may freeze. They keep you there with fear. Who's going to feed you to take care of your kids? They want you to demonstrate and protest for minimum wage increase. Never maximum wage increase, because maximum wage increase means you making the money yourself in your own business. They'd be glad to give you a minimum wage increase. They'd be glad to give you more benefits. They'd be glad to give you higher welfare. They'd be glad to open a school and name it after Barack Obama for you. Keep you behind in there and let them teach you how to be a good slave. We are voluntarily staying on the plantation. We're voluntarily asking and begging master to feed us better and make us more comfortable on the plantation. If black men, and now I'm not a black female. I'm not going to talk about black females here, folks. Never been one in my life. But if black men, if you dudes stop and take care of what's yours, then what's yours will be ours. So I learned in Berkeley, I learned in school, the first thing I had to do, once I got knowledge, once I recognized, I lift my head up and start observing and looking and planning and thinking. Once I did that, the first thing I had to do was to forgive that white boy trying to kill me. And we forgive him before he apologized, before he said he was sorry, before he paid. I had pledged myself, my life, to kill him. I had pledged if I ever saw him again, I didn't care where he was. Every morning I woke up in pain. I still do. Every morning, every night, I got to decide if I'm going to lay in that bed on my knees and my head in the pillow or sit up in the chair all night long. I had to decide every day. I hated that man. And once I forgave him, God healed me. That anger, that frustration, that's what they want us to do. They want us to be frustrated. You watch TV, all you see is black stress with black folks. Every movie, every TV program, every news story, we're stressing out. We're killing. We're mugging. We're having abortions. We blah, 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 everything, telling you who you are, what you are. The stress. But if we forgave each other, if you women forgave the men that abused you, that's the only power you have, by the way. If the men forgave the women who cheated on them and stole their money, if the Bloods forgave the Crips, what would our neighborhood be like? Forgiving.
Hi, this is Jewel Bakewell with Crown Jewel Realty. I'm your host of New Orleans Home Search Podcast, where we talk everything real estate and New Orleans. I'm here every first and third Thursday of the month on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.
Every day, anytime, anyway, every time, every day.
Only at UrbanSmartNetwork.com.
You see, in World War II, Germany destroyed Europe. Japan destroyed Asia, destroyed it. Nothing but rumbles, nothing but trash. And we forgave Germany and built them back up again. We forgave Japan and built them back up again. We built Japan back. We built Europe back. We, America. So that we can trade with them again. Now, Germany is one of our biggest trading partners. Japan is one of our biggest trading partners because we forgave. What would happen if the Bloods forgave the Crips? What would happen if the Jews forgave the Muslims? what would happen? See, Satan doesn't want us to forgive because it affects our future too positively. So we want to be hateful. We hate the color of the rag in your back pocket. Men hate women. Women hate men. Children hate both of us. Hatred, revenge. And we keep tearing ourselves down to the part that you forget and forsake what is yours. Your dignity, your honor, your family, your heritage, and your legacy. We allow other people to tell us that because we have not left Master's plantation. So we grow up and have kids and surrender our kids to master the trade and train and delegate and inspire. Master telling our kids what's right and wrong, not us. So now you got black men, athletes, wearing dresses now. Folks, in case you're too foolish to know, men don't wear dresses. In case you're too crazy to understand, in case they got you thinking you got to be fair. No, you got to be sincere. Men wearing dresses is not good for the community. I'm sorry, pink, I don't care how good they look at it. You got basketball stars in onesies now, like the 2-year-olds. You got women trying to be alpha males, trying to be strong. Nobody told you to be strong. You're not strong. We're strong. And you're weak and you need us. We have to start getting back to our roads, getting back in our lanes. Because if we don't do that, we are going to stay on the plantation and Master is going to continue to thrive and prosper. They're using us. They're schooling us. They're programming us. That's why TV, that's why television calls their product programming. They tell you what to think. They tell you how to react. They tell you the president is a racist. All they got to do is say it. All they got to say, he's mean. All they got to do is say it. And you follow along with the Trump the same thing. You don't think, you don't observe, you don't pay attention. So when I come along and tell you that you are free from the plantation, they call me all kind of names. This is why they call you a name, folks. If they call you a name, you will start defending yourself and not pay attention to the truth. So I grew up and I understood that. I learned that by the time I graduated Berkeley, boy, I had a clear mind. I understood what was happening. And wait a minute. My 5-year plan, I'm laying in the hospital bed, 1971, disabled, high school dropout, poor, with no ambition, and hating. And I laid there thinking, I cannot survive here. I cannot survive laying in this bed. I cannot survive not being able to walk. I cannot survive having no education. I cannot survive. And I had to get my behind up out of there. I had to put a shell over my bed so I could do pull-ups. To get back strong, I had to do pull-ups in pain. Went to Berkeley, and every day at Berkeley, all day long, I'm in pain. I have to go to school every other day on medications where I'm drugged, or no medication where I'm in pain. I had to suffer through it. I had a goal in mind. To get to a point in life, I do not have to work because I cannot work. You better have a goal in your life. I want you to join us at leavetheplantation.org. We help you get a goal. We help you get knowledge and education, inspiration. We help you put you around people of like mind. We're going to discuss things in this program about why are we marrying each other? We're not marrying each other, but we're marrying outside of our race. You got black folks marrying white people, but they're not marrying each other. And the reason why, good black men cannot find good black women, and good black women cannot find good black men. So we sit there lonely and angry, so we look elsewhere. We're going to talk about, well, I don't really care who you marry. Black and white doesn't really matter to God, doesn't matter to me. But the fact is, we cannot find the good ones, the decent ones, the calm ones. We're going to talk about that, relationships.
Hey, y'all, this is Ted Hayes, a.k.a. Mr. Patriot. I want you all to go to urbansmartnetwork.com. I want you to sign up. Then I want you to request and follow me. And I want you to learn what we are presenting here with the 14th Amendment the Civil Rights Act of 1866, what Dr. King called the promissory note, because there at our show called Your Power Weapon, you will learn what that power is only on urbansmartnetwork.com. Every Sunday, 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific Coast time, 1 o'clock p.m. East Coast time. Looking forward to seeing y'all. This is Your Power. Be a part of it. Only on urbansmartnetwork.com.
Only on urbansmartnetwork.com.
We're going to talk about why we don't have Black Wall Street again. I just saw a program yesterday. Black Wall Street, another little white man done me wrong thing. True story, a great message. The one thing that did not tell you in that movie, did not tell you who did it. They didn't say who did it. Democrats did it. They're always the ones. The Klan did it. It's found out about Democrats. They don't want you to compete. They never have and they never will want you to compete, folks. They will never want you to, but you still must compete. Planned Parenthood. In the first edition of my book, It's Okay to Leave the Plantation, well, maybe the second edition, I put in a whole lot of research on Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood. And I can only find information in two places, a book by a gentleman named Grant, and walk my butt up the stairs of the Library of Congress and get to the Margaret Sanger folder and look up her record and what she did. I had to verify what I'd heard. I had to verify what I was reading. I had to verify what everyone was saying about her. Margaret Sanger was a racist. She went to Germany to help Hitler with the final solution. She wanted to exterminate Black people and mentally ill people. She had a plan to do that. And she executed her plan. And that's why you find most of the Planned Parenthoods in Black neighborhoods, folks. She wrote a letter to Dr. Greenlee explaining that situation. And the letter is a little ambiguous, and I give you that. It may not be what she's really saying. She said that, she don't want to get out, that she's trying to exterminate the Black community. Now, she could have been saying, I don't want the false idea to get out. She could have been saying that. She could have been saying, I don't want the secret to get out. But she said, we're going to use Black doctors to do this, to exterminate the Black community. They're not your friend. But everybody's promoting it. Every Democratic president's candidate puts more money into Planned Parenthood, into your hood, on purpose. And then I saw it with the Civil Rights Movement. I was still protesting, demonstrating. I couldn't understand why I was doing this. Why am I'm angry? And then I realized something. I volunteered. I was an activist, folks. I volunteered for Ron Dellums, Pete Stark, Congressman George Miller. I campaigned for Alan Cranston. And I realized something. All I was doing was helping Black folks get better treatment on the plantation, never free of it. So I had to start changing my attitude and what I want to do. I wanted individual personal freedom. I wanted independence of my income, my family. I wanted control of my life. And I wasn't going to get that begging Democrats to give it to me. I had to leave the plantation myself. So I wrote the book in the early 90s. It's okay to leave the plantation, trying to explain the journey from a radical Berkeley revolutionary, before that, a disabled veteran, to a conservative Christian with the attitude. A man understands income. We're going to discuss income production. We're going to discuss independence of that created money. Why do poor people call it making dough, and rich folks call it cash flow? So we're gonna discuss all these elements, but on our website, it's called leavetheplantation.org. We're gonna have classes in different categories, videos, lessons, interviews, courses you can take. And you pass that course, you cannot get to the next level until you conquer the level you're in. That's nature. A baby cannot run until it conquers crawling. And it cannot go to the next level until it conquers the level it's in right now. So once you grow up in this industry, once you go to this website and start to take these classes we're going to have, your level of progress would increase. And we have our conventions. You'll be able to demonstrate who you are at the conventions. We're going to put together a card that you can show the card to merchants, saying that you are the kind of guy they want in that store. They'll give you a discount. All these things we're going to do on our website, leadtheplantation.org. Right now you go there, you see videos in 4 different categories: spiritual, political, economical, and cultural. You can take the classes you want to take and learn as you go and become more in tune to what freedom is. So I invite you to join, put us on your mailing list. We keep you informed of things that we're doing. I will be traveling the country. I will be discussing these items nationwide. But freedom cannot be given to you. Freedom has to be taken by you. You're not going to get to where you're going by sitting there and thinking about it. You have to make that journey. Folks, it's not difficult. It's not going to be hard. It's not going to be long. It just takes you to take the step. The first step is to raise your eyes up. You do not want to stay where you are. You don't understand why the people around you know where they are right now. You don't get it. They don't get it. They want you to think that you're poor. They want you to think that you have no ability to earn anything. Well, maybe that's true because they put your butt in their schools. They train your kids, train you to think about life a different way. They don't want you to think about success. They want you to think about the mess. So maybe you don't have a way out. I think you do.
Flossy high and yeah, we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making. And I heard they want my soul, Illuminati wanna take it. Two versus the family, MFM, the entertainment. And it's team, no sleep. Flossy high and yeah, we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making. And I heard they want my soul, Illuminati wanna take it.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because somewhere around the world, that is truly what time it is. I'm Montega Antone Tucker, Tony X, and we've moved our political content, the greatest political content, which is now uncensored, to urbansmartnetwork.com. Make sure you tune in 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on urbansmartnetwork.com.
Only on urbansmartnetwork.com.
You realize that almost 75% of Black people live above the poverty level. You would not think, ask anybody, they'll tell you the poverty level in the Black community is 50%, 60%. They'll tell you that. Because TV, the programming, has made you convinced that all Black people are poor or near poverty, that we're all drug dealers, we're all unemployed. 75% are middle class. But you will not believe it. You will not see it because no one's telling you that success is yours. See, what works for white people also works for Black people. It works. Hard work works. So it's 75% of us living in middle class. That means we're working, we have savings, we have income, we're buying gas, we're buying cars, we're renting, we're buying homes, and everything that affects that also affects you. So when your rent go up, when minimum wage goes up, your price will go up too, everything you're buying. When the stock market goes down, you lose money on your 401k. Y'all have one now, your 401k. So when jobs go to China, it helps you get poor. So Black folks, why on earth are we still supporting the party of slavery, the party of degradation, the party of strife? Why do we still support our slave master where we want jobs and incomes? We got to learn that. Poverty is not our plight. Poverty is our demon. We have to learn how to earn. So on our site, we're going to teach you the fundamental elements. I have some folks that make a lot of money. And there's a lot of ways to make money. I have 3 books on that. Poverty, Don't Fit My Lifestyle, 7 Principles of Success, We have books and tapes to help you get your mind. You don't have to hustle. We talk about hustle all the time. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Making money is not a hustle. It's not a hustle. It's not a scheme. Not even based on how smart you are. Based on how resourceful you are. But you got to join our site, leadtheplantation.org, and put us on your mailing list. We have discussions, understandings. Slavery came, folks, because it has always been in existence. Slavery was not against Black people. It was not for Black people. Slavery has always exists today. The reason China is so rich, because the Western nation needs slave labor. The reason India, every time you call for a product information, you got some Indian voice from India talking to you because their labor is cheap. The whole world needs cheap labor. The African slave trade was cheap labor for Europe and for America. And it will always be aimed at poor people, not Black people, poor people. So Black folks were poor in Africa, Chinese were poor in China, and Chinese are rich now. Some of them are rich. The leaders are rich. The Communist Party is rich, but the people out in the woods are dirt poor. And they come to the city and they learn, and now we are now working for China. So we're going to talk about that plantation poverty, where it comes from. It's the same spirit. It is a spirit, folks. It is a spirit. It's the same spirit of serfdom and feudalism, where the knights and the kings kept the people poor, working on their fields, and have enough money to keep them alive, enough food to keep them alive so that they can eat, to stay strong enough to go back and work in those fields again. They couldn't own property. They couldn't leave. And then you have sharecropping, the same thing, sharecropping. You work for master in the fields, he owned your soul. Slavery the same way. You worked from sun up, they can see, they can't see. And you provide security and prosperity for master, and he gave you a bowl and a bed to sleep in. The same thing today. The pimps, the drug dealing, everything is based on you needing them for a little bit of money. They do not mind giving you a minimum wage increase. That feeds the unions, that feeds the Democrats. So that's why you got this fight for a minimum wage. You never get a fight for a maximum wage increase. You never get a fight for a tax write-off, a tax, or more importantly, for the tax on income, because that would make you independent. See, independence means you don't need master to feed you. Independent, you will never find a program from Democrats that made you independent. You will never see a bill from a Democrat Congress that gives you more privileges, more rights. Every bill from Democrats are restrictive. It's the spirit of slavery. They will raise your kids to work for their kids. It's also human nature. I remember talking to a teacher at a rally one night. She was on the panel, and she was saying how much she loved the kids. We shouldn't take the education dollars away from her because she loves the kids. She loves the kids. And I asked her, "You love the kids?" She said, "Yes, I love my students." I said, "Do you have children yourself?" She said, "Yes." "Do you love them too?" She said, "Yes." So I asked her, "Do you love your kids enough to raise them to work for my kids? Do you love my kids enough to raise my kids to dominate your kids? If my son is smarter than your son in the same classroom, are you telling me that you will raise my son because he's smarter to dominate your child in business?" She looked at me and honestly said, "No. Folks, don't give your kids to anybody to raise but you. Don't allow anyone to dictate your child what his future is, his moral standards are, and community. That better be you. And it starts with your choice of who their parent will be. Ladies, your greatest gift to your children is your choice of who their father is. That's the great choice. So you have to be able to be in charge of your children. If you want a Black community, folks, we do not have a Black community. I'm so tired of hearing about the Black community. You don't have a community. You don't have a Black culture. You have a slave culture. Your culture was handed down to you by slaves. It wasn't our culture to eat chitlins. Our black women back in the slave days survived by going out there to that garbage and getting what master threw away when he slaughtered a pig. That was the culture we got. The reason we have Christmas on New Year's chitlins on New Year's Day with black eyed peas is because the master had Christmas ham and threw away the guts and threw away the brains and the nose and the ears and the tails and the feet and the skin. And those black women went out there to that garbage. They got that pig skin and fried it and made crackling. And pickled those doggone ears and that nose and took that brain out and ate it. So the kids can survive. We survived on that, doggone it. We survived on that. But it's not our culture. It is not who we are. We're not made for that. And it's time we stop eating low on the hog, start eating high on the log. It was not our culture. Our culture in Europe, you got French and Germany, they fight. You got Germany and England, they fight, and they exchange cultures. Eating, drinking, marriage. They exchange. In the culture exchange, they both get stronger. Black folks do not develop their own culture. It's developed by masters. Today, it's developed by his TV program. It's developed by what we say about ourselves in our rap music. We heard the rap music now. That's us doing that. White man doing that to us. Let's build a real culture. Let's go back to the real. Look what happened in Tulsa, that movie yesterday. Those people built an economic kingdom. What they didn't build, though, the reason it failed, the reason they were destroyed and slaughtered, because they did not also build a political power base. They didn't do it. They still thought master was going to be fair and that master was going to take care of them. They didn't have the political base to thwart that attack on them. Today, we have none. That's why every riot is in a Democratic neighborhood. Every shooting of a police officer, of a black man that you heard all last 2 years, everyone was in a black Democrat-controlled neighborhood. They would continue to kill us and rule us and feed off of us like a pack of wolves on a dead carcass. This is Mason Weaver. As soon as this program is over, rush to the website, leavetheplantation.org, and get your copy of Raunchy Secrets Only Wives Should Know. It will give you information, knowledge on how to communicate to your man your needs and your frustrations. And it opens up a conversation, and the conversation leads to love, and love leads to a family, and family leads to freedom. Get the copy today at leavetheplantation.org. We need to develop our own culture, our own language. Instead of Ebonics, they call it the Ebonic plague, we allow others to tell us how to speak, and it's always weak. We should develop the language of success, the language of business, the language of marriage, the language of family, the language of culture. We should develop it ourselves. It's up to us, period. And that's why I wrote the book. It's okay. It's all right to lead the plantation. It was frightening to lead the plantation, folks. It was frightening. Because Master controlled the news then too. He controlled everything you thought about yourself. Everything you knew, you got from Master. You couldn't read. It was illegal to read. So Master said to us, do you really think the Underground Railroad going to free you? Do you really think, slave, that those white folks up north going to give you a job over a white person? They hate you. Republicans hate you. They want you to go out there in the woods and die. They hate you. Your mother left last summer. Your father left last spring. Your uncle took off 2 years ago. You have not heard from them because they're dead in the woods. Republicans want to kill you. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. I'll feed you. I'll feed you better next week. I get a little extra grain because all we ate was, cattle food. Couldn't have no meat. You got meat if you did something good for Master. Had a baby for Master, you get a little bacon, but meat was not in our diet. We were bred to breed and work hard and die. The men were bred to replace themselves for master, make more babies for master to raise and work on, and to die early because no one wants a retired slave, folks, and Social Security. They don't want to retire. They want you to die. So we are raised to have sex, be very sexually active, be very strong. There's nothing stronger in America than a 19-year-old black man. There's nothing stronger than a 19-year-old black man. But also, by the time he's 69, he got diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart problems. We're bred by our food and our lifestyle to be strong and productive and die. So right now you got Social Security. They take away, think about this now. They tax you when they take it away from you. They keep it in the bank for 40 years while you're working. And then if they like you, they may give you some back when you retire, but they tax it when they give it back to you also. And if you make too much money in retirement, they will penalize you or stop your payments. It's your money. They tax you on it. It's your money, and they confiscate it. But if you do too good in retirement and investing your money, and you retire with too much money in your pocket, they will take it from you. And if one of your spouses die, if one of y'all die, the one with the biggest Social Security will go to the surviving spouse, but that surviving spouse's Social Security will go away. They will take your money from you. So black folks, think about how we are in this country now, black folks. We work 20, 30, 40 years, and that money is sitting in Social Security, and we die on average 3 years after we retire, 69. So where's that money go? It goes back to the system, and most of it given to the person who lives the longest, the white female. So once again, they got us defended. We're a riot. Somebody talking about Social Security, taking it away from us. We're a riot. We hate Republicans thinking about they're gonna revive Social Security. But your behind is working your butt off all your life, and your money goes to take care of master's wife instead of your own wife. And you fight to keep that system in play. It's all a game on all of us, folks. And Leave the Plantation is the only place you're going to hear this, and the only place you're going to find help. We're going to rebuild and create a real culture in America. We're going to exchange ideas with each other. We're going to learn from the Jews. We're going to learn from the Arabs. We're going to learn from the Italians. We're going to learn from everything around us. We're going to figure out what works. Because what works for one will work for everybody. And we're no longer be afraid. We're going to stand up and take our rightful place. We have worked too long in this country to allow anyone to stop us. We owe it to our ancestors. They don't owe us nothing. White folks don't owe you nothing. White folks don't owe you a thing about what happened in slavery. They owe you nothing. We've been free too long to still be dependent. It's going to be us. I'm an adult male. I'm an adult. I'm educated. I'm in business. We're going to train ourselves to do this. We're going to take, and everything we think we can do, we dominate, folks. We dominate. Tulsa, Black Wall Street, haven't seen nothing yet. Wait till America become entrepreneurs. Wait till Black Americans become entrepreneurs. Wait until we become businessmen. Wait till we become investors. We're going to explode. Not because we're Black, because we're survivors. We have survived this country. We should stand tall. We have survived. The civil rights movement, what won, folks, what won that movement for us was that we had enough. You could not put enough of us in jail. You could not stick the dogs on enough of us. You could not put tear gas in the mouths of enough of us. You could not do, we were not going to stop. We didn't care about the beatings, the lynchings, the killings. We had enough. You had enough now? Is there anything else you can do? Can they hurt you anymore? You tired of being beaten? You tired of being discriminated against? You tired of the news lying to you? Are you tired? Then join us and let's make this work for us, because they're not going to do it. Either us or our kids will suffer. It's either us or we will continue to dwindle away as a society. It's either us or it's nothing. So I'm inviting you to join us. I'm inviting you to send me your information. It's Mason at Leave the Plantation. Let me know what you think. Let me know what I should do. Let me know how we can help each other. Let's leave the plantation. And I know Master owe us. We worked it for 1,000 years. We know Master owe. Leave it. Leave it. Forgive them of the past, folks. You got to forgive the slave master. You got to forgive his children. You got to forgive them. That's required biblically of you. That is the only power you have. Because when I forgive that white boy, I'll tell you something. When I forgave him, God instantly healed me. I kid you not. Instantly. So fast, my friends didn't believe it. When I forgave him, when I'm thinking about, am I going to accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior? And I forgave him. You try forgiving. It's the only real power you have. Satan is saying, revenge, revenge, revenge. Hate them. What they did for you is really bad. If we had not forgiven the Germans in World War II, Europe would still be, Europe would be a Russian country right now. All of Europe would be Russia. If we did not forgive Japan, if we don't forgive the folks that did things to us in the past, if you don't forgive folks, you cannot get the power of being forgiven. So I know I want to hear no emails about what the white man did, what I owe them, and what you think about me personally. It doesn't really matter what you think about me personally. I'm not looking for friends. I'm not looking for love. I'm not looking for anybody to go with me and do anything. I'm simply here doing one thing: the truth right between the lies. The truth. Historically, the truth. And I want you to join us. We're going to go on a journey. This election coming up is our last one, and we're going to be subjecting ourselves to the wills and whims of Master. It's not going to happen anymore. We will reject that. Every civil rights movement, every civil rights demonstration, every protest, every march, every sit-in, every single one was against Democrats. Every march Dr. King had, Reverend Dr. King, not Dr. King. Every protest and march, including that last one in Memphis with the garbage collectors, was against Democrats. So why in the heck did we spend a decade fighting for freedom, Jim Crow laws, Democrat, poll tax, Democrat, the White Citizen Council, Democrats, the KKK, Democrats. John, we fought for a decade because we had enough. We had enough. We're not going to go back. We're not going to participate in this regressiveness. We had enough. Today, we got off that ground. We got off the streets and joined. Ate that tear gas, had dogs' bites all over us. And we turned back to the Democrats and asked them, you going to take care of us better now, Master? You had enough? Okay, we come back to you. George Wallace stood in the schoolhouse door, keeping black kids out of school. George Wallace ran on the segregation platform. Segregation now, segregation forever. See, that wasn't history to me. I saw that fool say that on TV. So no one had to tell me what he said. I watched him say that on TV. And he turned around and embraced these black leaders, and they supported him and made him elected him again, supported for president. This man was a racist, as all Democrats are. So why do we do that? Why do we keep going back? I'm going to tell you why. Abuse. Abuse works. The king, when served them, they knew the more those people were poor, the harder they worked for him. The slave master knew the more he beat those slaves, the more loyal they were to him. The Democrats know in the ghetto, the worse off that ghetto is, the most drug infected, the most gang infected, the less jobs they have in there, the greater support would be for Democrats. Democrats know that poverty and stress brings voters. So they're going to abuse us and rape us and beat us and shoot us, knowing they come back every election and collect our votes until we get enough. You had enough yet?
Hi, this is Miss Jones.
Roman Crispin here.
Carlton Prophet, host of the Real Estate Dim Sum Show.
Catch us every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
The best real estate show on the planet.
Act like we don't know each other.
We helping everybody get homes in 2021 and beyond.
Only on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.
Only on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.
We owe an obligation to take advantage of what our ancestors died for. They died for the opportunity of us to earn a seat at the table or build our own doggone table. Folks, if you don't do it, it will not be done. If you still expect Master to feed you, he will. You still expect Master to work with you, he will, as long as you do not want to take his seat at the table. I'm saying, especially you men, I'm not a female. I'm not a woman. I can't speak to that. I can't speak to that. I can tell you what should be happening, but men, I can tell you, if you want to serve someone else, they'll let you do it. If you want to serve yourself, they can't stop you from doing it. It's going to take us, want to do that. What won the civil rights movement? One simple thing. What won that movement? The same thing that won the war against Britain. The same thing that won independence for women to vote. The same things always worked. Are you willing to sacrifice all you have for your children? Are you willing to fill the jails up with your protests? Are you willing to believe God when he said you're already free? To join us. Lead the plantation. It will not lead you. Lead the plantation. It will not lead you. Learn your history, but learn it from yourself. Juneteenth. What a lie. Juneteenth is a lie. What they're telling you is a lie. It happened. The Union troops marched into Galveston, Texas. It happened. But folks, those slaves were not free with the Emancipation Proclamation. If you think that the emancipation, even at the end of the war freed the slaves, that did not free the slaves. What freed the slaves were the presence of Union troops. The war continued, didn't matter. When Union troops sold up, Black folks were free. So in Galveston, Texas, the war was over, but until Union troops sold up, those slave masters, those Democrats kept Black folks in slavery. Those Democrats will keep you in slavery until the Union troops show up. So Galveston, Texas, wasn't those mean Republicans kept Black folks in captivity for 2 years after the war ended. Garbage. It took 2 years for the troops to get their way down that far south. Folks, the Republican Party was started for the express purpose of ending slavery. It was started. And right now, today, we have this constant call from Democrats to compromise. Same call they had in the 1800s. Let's compromise on these new states coming in. Let's just get along together. One slave state, one free state. One slave state, one free state. Because what they were doing was trying to get the biggest states to be slave states that vote for more congressional aids so they get more congressional power. That was the game. The Missouri Compromise, the Kansas-Nebraska Act, the Oregon, it's compromising. So finally, a little group got together, 1854, and said, hey, we're going to start a new party. This is a non-compromising party. We're going to call it the Republican Party. And we're just going to stop this. Slavery is evil. Slavery is bad. Slavery is not holy. And we're Christians. We're going to stop this mess with no compromising. And they had 9 platforms in their first election. 9 platforms. 1861 was the first election. And they had, of those 9, 6 were saying, we're going to end slavery. First day. We're not going to play with this stuff. America, if you vote for us, we will not compromise. If you vote for us, we're not going to give any ground to them anymore. We're not going to find common ground with the enemy. If you vote for us, we're going to stop this mess. it was a Christian movement began in America. And after the election, that new party, Republican Party, won the majority of U.S. governorships, the majority of state houses, the majority in Congress, the majority in the Senate, and they won the presidency first time. Because America liked the idea of not compromising. So the Union had control, and there was no more that the Democrats could do. They had no choice. They had two choices. Come back into session, and the first vote, slavery is over. Or leave the Union to keep your folks in captivity. So the Democrats broke away from the Union to keep slaves. And don't let these Southerners, I got some nice Southern friends who say it was for states' rights, Mason, but states' rights, yeah, states' rights to keep slaves. States' rights to keep slaves. What else was the right for? Independence to keep slaves. And the Union broke away, and that's why you see people quoting Lincoln, saying that Lincoln didn't want the Union to split up. Lincoln wants them to come back. Yeah, he did. Yeah, we stop the war. Come on back. We ain't gonna fight no. Just come on back in the Union. Sure, he said that because he knew you come back in the Union, we still gonna have that vote in Congress. You gonna still have the governorships controlled by Republicans. You gonna still lose your slaves. Come on back in. They fought to keep slaves. They fought to keep your folks in slavery. It was a Christian movement, folks, to end slavery. And you'll not hear that in school because they hate God. The road to victory meant that enough. Look what happened, folks. Look what happened in the slaves, the Civil War. We've had a whole lot of civil wars in the world, a whole lot of civil wars on the planet where brothers fight brothers to control the country. King dies, two brothers fight. It happened in France, it happened in Britain, it happens a lot. But our civil rights, our Civil War, a little different. Our Civil War was brothers fighting brothers to free strangers. Think about that. Think about what it takes for you to take arms against your brother because something he's doing is home. Think about what kind of conflict there'd be in your heart to go and fight your brother to free strangers. They had enough. They had enough. And they went to war. 360,000 white Republicans gave their lives to free strangers. Us. You talk about owing somebody something, folks. That took some manhood. What would that take? Think about it now. Even if you don't like your brothers, you're gonna go to their home and burn down their home to free strangers in their house because they're treating them wrong. That took a God thing. That was a God thing. Human beings don't do that. It is not in our history, not our DNA. It had to be a God thing. And it took up arms and they destroyed Richmond, Savannah. They destroyed Atlanta. They destroyed the South. And the South fought to the very end to keep your behind in captivity. And now we're going back to the party of the KKK. Right after the Civil War, 4 Democrat generals founded a little group called the KKK to kill Republicans and black folks that supported the Republican agenda. The Republicans never joined the Klan. The Klan wants to destroy you. So now we have a situation where black folks, once again, going back to the plantation, begging the master to take their kids, making babies for master, keeping the community under control, keeping the drug trade down, keeping the pregnancy rate high. Ain't no white man telling you to make them babies. Ain't no white man telling you to sell them drugs. People say, Mason, we ain't got no planes from Colombia coming in. Mason, we don't own guns. We don't have no gun factory. How the guns get in our community? Well, folks, how much drugs do they have to pour on your front lawn, feed and shelter the kids in the neighborhood? It's us, folks. So I'm asking you once again, join us at leavetheplantation.org. Give us your email list. We're going to put this thing together your way. We're going to be communicating, but I want us to go there. It's called freedom. It's a journey. It's not a long journey, folks, but you owe it to those women that took to being raped. You owe it to those men that were beaten down. You owe it to your ancestors who feared for the freedom you have right now. If we squander it, we're dishonorable. So join me. Leave the plantation, the truth, right between the lies. Stay right or be left. We are going to go to freedom. God bless you.
Only on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.